One morning, a painter woke up and found that all the colors in his world had vanished, not from his palette, but from his heart. His name was Noah. He lived in a small coastal town where the sea whispered against the cliffs, and his studio always smelled of salt and turpentine. But that morning, as he stared at a blank canvas, something inside him had gone quiet. He dipped his brush in red. It looked too loud. Tried blue. It felt hollow. Even yellow, once his favorite, refused to shine. He waited for inspiration to come, but it didn't. The colors he had once lived for now stared back at him, silent and cold. Days turned into weeks. The sea outside kept moving, but Noah didn't. He stopped painting. Stopped walking to the shore. Stopped answering the door when friends came by. He told himself, maybe my time is over. But deep down, he didn't feel old, just empty. Sometimes he'd pick up a brush out of habit, only to drop it halfway. He felt like a musician who'd forgotten the sound of music. One evening, as the sun melted into the horizon, Noah wandered through the quiet streets, not searching for anything, just walking to feel something. That's when he saw her, a little girl sitting on the curb, painting on a piece of torn cardboard. Her brush was broken, her colors half dried. Yet she smiled, humming softly as she worked. Noah stopped. For a moment he almost kept walking. What could he possibly offer when he couldn't even help himself? But then he noticed what she was painting. The ocean. The same sea that once filled his soul. Now alive again in the imagination of a child who'd never even seen it. Curiosity pulled him closer. "Hey," he said softly. "What are you painting?" The girl looked up, grinning. "The ocean," she said. "My mom says it's too far to visit, so I'm making my own." Noah's heart caught in his chest. She was painting something she'd never seen, using colors she barely had, and yet she looked happier than he'd been in months. He went home silently, opened the old wooden box that still smelled of linseed oil. Inside were his brushes, worn but waiting. He returned to the girl, carrying a small canvas, a few paints, and that familiar trembling hope. "Let's paint it together," he said. They sat under the streetlight, mixing blues and greens with their fingers. The girl laughed when the colors smeared. Noah laughed too, a laugh that felt strange, almost forgotten. The sound of it made the night softer. By the time the stars appeared, the cardboard was covered in messy, beautiful waves. It wasn't perfect, but it was alive. The next morning, Noah placed that small painting in his studio. He stood there for a long time, watching the light touch the wet strokes. It wasn't his best work, but for the first time, it didn't matter. Because he finally understood something. Art was never about being perfect. It was about being present. About feeling something, anything, and daring to share it. From that day forward, Noah painted again. Not to sell, not to impress, but to feel, to remember, to live. And slowly the colors came back, deeper, brighter, more honest than before. So if you ever wake up feeling empty, as if your colors have disappeared, remember this: they return when we share them. Sometimes the colors we lose don't return when we search for them. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who's forgotten their own colors. Because sometimes all it takes to bring color back is to remind someone else they still have theirs. Subscribe for more stories that bring warmth to the soul.